They're so soft, aren't they?
Laura and her 4 children have called this bungalow in Bournemouth home for nearly a decade. But they'll spend this Christmas with the prospect of homelessness hanging over their heads. Their landlords issued them a Section 21 eviction notice. He says he wants to sell the property.
Potentially we're going to be homeless in the middle of winter, which is marvellous. The court date is the first day back in session after the Christmas holiday. You can imagine, what might happen.
3rd of January? Or,
yeah, 4th of January.
4th of January.
Yeah. So the two options are being on the street with suitcases, knocking on the council's door on the day, so that they will then send us to Weymouth or find something if there's something available. But if there's not, my only choice is to then fund a B&B.
Since she found out, Laura's seen every local rental property she can, but despite working full-time as a counsellor for the NHS and in private practice, she's told time and time again she doesn't meet the earning threshold estate agents want. And despite saving 6 months' worth of rent up front, still no one will accept her offer.
Have you been going along to look at some of the houses?
Sometimes, like once or twice.
Oh yeah, and what's that like?
It's pretty, it's like, it brings joy really to me, but like when they say like, oh you can't get this house, it does, like, I get a bit sad.
We have to maybe think about giving them to Granny and Grandpa.
They're now so desperate they're going to give the family pets away in an attempt to get landlords on side.
My whole reason for getting up, is to keep a roof over the children's head. And it's one of the main responsibilities you have as a parent, so it feels really, really helpless at not being able to meet that. And frustrating because, never before in a developed country, have I come across, not being able to afford a house if you're on a wage,
This is the sharp end of interest rate rises. With mortgages at their most expensive in a decade and social housing in decline, more and more people are being pushed into the private rental sector. Many landlords, meanwhile, are putting up rents or selling up altogether, a vicious cycle driving so many out of their homes. Esther's landlord gave her a no-fault eviction and put up her rent by £250 over the summer. She and her family are supposed to leave by the end of the month, but her search for a home to rent has hit constant brick walls.
There was probably about 10 to 12 properties in total in Mendip, which is, well, not quite all of Mendip, but it's like Glastonbury, Wells, Shepton.
So this is a huge area, and
it's a huge area. There was probably about 10 to 12 on the rental market, and probably maybe 2 I could afford. There's 27 on average viewings per property in Mendip. So they'll close the list, just for viewings. And then you have to fill out all these forms. I mean, it is like doing a job application for every single one, if you actually get to see it.
Charities say at the heart of the problem lies a lack of social or affordable housing.
55% of landlords don't actually have a mortgage, so that's not what's driving the price increase. And what we'd say is that decades of a failure for the government to prioritise truly affordable social housing is really driving up demand in the private rented sector and thus driving up rent increases.
Landlords blame the government too for a lack of incentives.
The housing crisis has been made by policymakers. In 2015, George Osborne decided he wanted to prioritise home ownership. He disincentivised landlords with punitive taxation, and because of that, landlords are selling up, and that's why rents are going up. That's why we have a huge shortage of rental accommodation, and policymakers continue to want to increase home ownership. Where are all of those renters going to go?
The government told us their renters reform bill, which is moving through Parliament, would give tenants better protection. They told us too that it would end no-fault evictions, but couldn't say when.
This blanket will be going underneath on the floor.
Bogomil is a part-time health worker. He spent October sleeping in his car after his sublet came to an end. Rents in the area are so high and deposits even higher that he had nowhere to turn.
It must have been freezing.
It was, but then again, because I was still working at the time, I managed to have money, so from time to time I have been switching the engine on just to warm up.
So this is the new place?
Yes, this is new place.
After seeing his interview with the local paper, a couple in Gravesend got in touch and offered him a cut-rate cottage on their alpaca farm.
Yeah, shoes off if you don't mind.
It must be such a relief.
For some people maybe not much, but this is everything you need. Yeah, well, everything I need. These are the alpacas.
He's managed, with the help of friends, to find what he hopes will be a long-term sublet from next month. His a story with a happy ending, but for how long? Like millions of others, his salary can only go so far in a market in which rents grow faster than wages, with nearly half of all tenants fearing they might lose their home, and with ever fewer places to go if they do.